I'm joined by Gene Sperling, counselor to Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner, who has been in the room for much of these negotiations. Gene, thank you so much for the time today. Peter Cook spoke recently, just within the last hour, to Chris Van Hollen, who said that Democrats have not signed on this deal. Do you have any sense that Democrats are not going to give you the votes that you need to get this through?
I think people are still reviewing the framework. I think it's understandable that, like the president, many of the Democrats do not like having to extend tax relief for the most well-off Americans in the wealthiest of states. But I think that when people look closely at what was achieved by the president in terms of, number one, ensuring that taxes are not going up on 100 million Americans in January 1, 2011, and creating that kind of risk and uncertainty into the economy. Two, that this package is very strong in terms of job creation. We're already seeing outside estimates suggesting this will help create over 1 million new jobs, critical with a 9.8% unemployment rate. And three, I think people have to take a look at what the president achieved in terms of tax relief for students, for the most hard-pressed families, and for 155 million Americans through a payroll tax cut. And let me just say, at a 2% payroll tax cut means that if you make $60,000 a year, you get a $1,200 tax cut. That's very important for working families, important for the economy. I think a lot of Democrats, when they look at that, are going to want to be on the side of supporting something this strong for working-class families.
Is that a given, though? Are there nerves in the West Wing right now that Democrats are not going to end up supporting this?
I think when people look at this, I feel very confident that Democrats are going to move and support this. I think people have strategic differences, which they have their right to. But I think what's going to happen over the next couple of days is people are going to look and see what's in here. They're going to see that a college tax credit for 8 million students was extended for 2 years. They're going to see 150 million Americans getting a payroll tax cut. That's every American, from the most hard-pressed family to middle income, suburban families, all getting very significant tax relief. They're going to see the jobs estimates coming from independent groups, and they're going to realize that this was a very strong deal, even with the unfortunate things the president had to go along with to move the economy and this process forward.
Including adding to the deficit. You haven't put a price tag on this. Some are saying upwards of $900 billion. Is this another stimulus?
No, that's completely inaccurate. People who are using big numbers are counting what it costs to simply keep tax cuts rates as they are. That's the whole point. We're not adding new money to keep the tax rates where they are. We're trying to prevent a tax increase of $2,000 to $3,000 on going up on every working family in the United States. There is some additional resources here: $120 billion payroll tax cut, $50 to $60 billion to help 2 to 7 million Americans who are still looking for jobs, for unemployment insurance. That is going to be a temporary, one-time injection into the economy. When you do things like that, it's good for growth. It has no negative impact on the long-term deficit. It's exactly the type of smart, pro-jobs, pro-working family, pro-fiscal discipline policy our country needs right now.
Well, ultimately, you, the White House, are arguing this comes down to the economy. The mid-session review in July, OMB's budget projects unemployment to be 7.7% in the fourth quarter of 2012, just in time for the presidential election. Does this package change those projections?
We're at 9.8% unemployment right now. We don't have to even ask about projections. 9.8% unemployment is unacceptable to this president. It's unacceptable to his economic team. It should be unacceptable to everybody on Capitol Hill.
But unemployment is going to go down because of this
There is no question that this package is going to make unemployment lower than it would have been without that. When you put $120 billion of money into typical Americans' pockets through a payroll tax relief.
And when will
for
it start
2011,
to go down?
And Congressional Budget Office, everyone who's looked at this says this is one of the highest bang for the buck tax cuts you can do for jobs, for the economy, and again, over $1,000 for a family making $60,000. And again, we also have in here 100% expensing for businesses. This has almost no long-term fiscal impact, but it could accelerate $50, $100 billion of new investment into 2011. You put those together, and you will see people from Wall Street to Main Street economists arguing that this is going to have a much stronger positive impact on the economy and jobs than anybody was expecting when this negotiation started.
We need to wrap up. I know you're late for an meeting with the president himself, but can you project when we will start to see this package bringing down the unemployment rate?
I think what you can predict is that when you get this type of high bang for the buck injection into the economy, payroll tax relief, which economists across the boards believe will be effective, unemployment insurance, which people feel is one of the most effective things, not only to help people still struggling to find jobs, but to get money in the economy, it will have a meaningful difference. And I think that's what's important for every policymaker to know when they're weighing their vote.
Gene, thank you so much for the time today.